All right, what's going on, everyone? Hope you are doing amazing. Happy Monday to all of you. It's good to be back live on LinkedIn. I haven't done one of these in solo here in a little bit, so I'm excited for the conversation, excited to talk you all through some of my own learnings. We had a conversation internally with the company on Friday. And, when I was talking to the team on Friday, we talked a lot about what happens when the economy goes down. And I'm sure a lot of you, I'm just going to drop it in here, drop where you are joining from, and questions. I'm sure we have some. All right. So what I thought I'd do today is just spend a little bit of time talking about my experience in B2B sales over the course of the last, let's call it 15 years or so that are kind of most applicable to this time and kind of like what we're going through now and my own experience and things that I saw firsthand during the economic downturn. And candidly, I'll try to give a lot of tactical advice too for all of you who are in B2B sales who are trying to figure out, gosh, what does this mean for me? I'm nervous, etc. And feel free to drop your questions in the comments. I love to know where people are joining in from as well too. So, look, obviously last week I think was a week where a lot of companies, we've been seeing the layoffs happen on LinkedIn for a little bit now, and I think when Elon Musk comes out and says, that he's nervous about the economy, I think that's when a lot of people are like, oh shit, if the richest man in the world is making his employees come into the office, is still planning, I think he's still planning to do either pay cuts. I think they're not going to trim 10% of the workforce anymore. I think a lot of people, and we're seeing all the layoffs in B2B tech companies, as well too. So look, for a lot of you out there, it can feel a little certain. And I'm sure for many of you, this is your first time going through something like this, right? We've had, kind of pre-COVID, COVID was a little bit of a blip for, 9 to 12 months. And then kind of coming out of COVID in 2021, not really fully coming out, but we've pretty much had an economy that's going straight up and to the right. And look, for me, by no means do I consider myself a finance guru or Nostradamus in terms of what's going to happen with the economy. But what I can do is share with you, what did I do? And I'll share some of kind of my stories and things that I did for my organization and my team as I've been through this multiple times. And so where I'll start is for any of you who are in B2B sales or marketing or in that world, just understand that these cycles happen. And it's really difficult, especially when it's your first cycle, which for a lot of you it might be, where it's like things have just been going up for so long and then they're going down and you've never seen them go down. That's what happened to me back in 2007, 2008. 2009, I had just started at a company called Career Builder in 2006. And at the time, Career Builder was the largest job site in the world. LinkedIn was like a social networking site that had just started, and Monster.com was a big player. And it's so interesting. I think I had the gift of being naive, that I didn't really know. I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't really know, like when you're young and naive and you don't really know like what an economic downturn looks like or like what it means. I didn't. I think that mindset helped. And so the first thing that I want to tell all of you, and if you can go and you can Google this, is your mindset right now is going to have a direct impact on your success. If you want to see doom and gloom, oh, people are pulling back and buying, it's not being, putting your whole blinders on and just being like, oh, that nobody likes me, etc. Or saying like, well, it's not happening and acting like it's not happening. But I can tell you, like, my number one advice during this time, if you're in B2B sales, is mindset. And that mindset is like, winning is possible. Okay. And I'm telling you, I don't know how many of you have seen the stories or seen these things happen, that the amount of companies, if you go look at COVID, right, as kind of our most recent blip, COVID wasn't a full on, there were parts of it where it kind of collapsed right whenever we all went to, kind of home, but it came back within about 7 or 8 months. It started to in Q4 of 2020. Um, Having the right mindset that winning is possible, to me is one of the most important keys to success if you're in B2B sales. So for all of you out there who might be thinking like, oh man, what does this mean? You can only control what you can control. So don't worry about it. Just understand winning is possible. Plenty of people are going to win, and some people win really big, regardless of the industry. So number two, kind of topic that I want to, hit on a little bit for those of you out there is, look, I started at Career Builder in late 2006. Like I said before, largest job site in the world at the time. And it was really interesting. So I moved into sales leadership in early 2006. I ran a team that ran the Pacific Northwest territory. So there's nothing like special about my territory. We didn't have California. We had Washington, Seattle, Idaho, Montana, some other spots. I think we had Utah too, maybe. But long story short, when the economic downturn happened, it forced our team to get better at having business conversations. So I'm going to put this in here as my number two: business conversations over product conversations. Okay, this was a huge one for my team. And so what do I mean by that? So imagine there's two different ways you could pitch, right? So I could call you up as a business. And again, let's fast forward to like late 2007. If you guys remember Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, all these things, I mean, like literally the economy is like, and not only just the economy, I mean the banks, right? The foundation of the economy is crumbling. And so as you can imagine, people were pausing hiring for a little bit. People, and I'm sure, look, and a lot of you are seeing this, like I said, for the first time. You're like, wait, these companies were growing. They hired all these people, and now they're laying people off. Now they're doing these other things. And it's like, this is what happens in a down economy. And so, again, at the time, I didn't know this. I didn't have again, I think it was the benefit of being like, 27, 28 years old. I had never lived through an economic downturn before. I didn't know that it was supposed to be doom or gloom. I didn't know that, again, like, wait, people are going to stop hiring. I work at the world's largest job site at the time. So let me tell you what we did. And this is applicable to any of you. Being able to talk to someone about their business and the needs of their business over how to explain your product is what got me and my team through it. My team between 2007 and 2008 was the number one team out of 20 plus like hybrid teams that were inside and outside in the entire company. So in the two worst years of the economy, 07, 08, my team was the number 1% to quota. Like I said, our territory was Pacific Northwest, like it wasn't California or New York or some other Texas or something, and it was 100% due to this second point. And what I mean by that is what I made sure my team was really, really good at is, guess what? Even in a down economy, certain sectors, different groups, they're hiring. They're looking for talent. They have jobs that they can't fill. Maybe they need to fill them with contractors now instead of full-time. Another thing for a lot of you to understand is that the way that a company carries on its books full-time hires versus contract hires get put in a different bucket. And so that's why whenever you see companies start to rehire, sometimes they won't hire full-time people at first because they don't have to put that in their operating expenses. They can put that in their, like general ledger or admin. So what I was really good as my team is, instilling in them, look, people are still hiring. People are still looking for people. And I'm telling you, this is the truth. Companies are still buying software. Companies are still buying whatever it is you're selling. And as the economy potentially dips even further, it's not going to change. What's going to change, and again, there might be a blip, right? And certain industries might have a lot of trouble. So obviously avoid those industries, is the ROI use case and the ability to have an executive conversation becomes absolutely critical. And so what I train my teams on, the very first question when they came to me with a deal, very first question I'd ask them, And again, keep in mind, I worked at a job site. We sold job postings, resume database, and a few other products, right? How does the company make money? Because what I would tell them, if you don't know how they make money, if you don't know what they do, how can you possibly put together an ROI case? You can't. If I don't know that, hey, you're in industrial manufacturing, here's what's happening in the economy, industrial manufacturing, therefore you're probably looking for these types of people that are really difficult to find, and I can help you to do that. If my team didn't know that, we would have never have been successful. And so my number one piece of advice as a part of business conversations is you've got to start to really understand how your prospective buyers make money. What are the ICPs? What do those people actually do? How do the people actually make money, etc. If you don't do that, later on, you're going to be pitching product. And I'm telling all of you, there's a very high likelihood. And so if you go in and say, well, yeah, we're slanging job postings, they're like, well, we're pretty much, in a hiring freeze across the whatever, but, maybe, which is what happened to a lot of my counterparts. Where I saw them struggling is that they were pitching products. They weren't understanding, okay, you're industrial manufacturing. You need these 7 very technical roles. Instead of doing the traditional posting strategy of X, we're going to do this regional posting strategy and then try to get someone to relocate. So instead of, them needing to buy 1 job posting, they needed to buy 5 because this was a very difficult role to fill. So we needed to put it in the hubs of where these people lived and then attempt to get them to relocate to Boise or wherever it was. And so my team was able to have those conversations as opposed to saying, hey, you're looking for this. Here's how we can help you with that. It's like, hey, let's zoom out. Like, I know in your space, here are some trends that are still happening. Let me put together a solution for you. Right. And so for anybody out there, as your whatever sector you sell into gets hit with this, some type of economic downturn, just anchor in this. You have to know what they do. You have to know how they make money if you want to survive. Because if you can do that, then I can go tell an ROI story to a CFO. Look, I know that we've paused hiring for this, 80%, but for this 20%, we need these people because these people are mission critical to us fulfilling this work that we have to get done. And by working with Career Builder, we can do this and this and this strategically that's going to help us with our top 10% of roles. And so, we were able to sell contracts that were not just, a post and pray or a resume database. Instead, people were buying solutions. And that's maybe what I'll put in here as number 3 is packaging solutions versus product proposals too. Is that, again, we got very good at this of like, look, you had said this was an issue. You had said these 5 things were happening. Here's how we're going to be able to put together a package to be able to help you with that. Right. And the solution for you versus products, right? What I see a lot of people is, if you just send over a list of products of like, and even if you've had 2 or 3 conversations with people, keep in mind, those people have to then go sell this internally. And in an economic downturn, that might be number 4 here is speak the customer language. Like, put like, let's call it like ROI and, key talking points in their language, okay? Because again, it becomes harder and harder to sell, right? In certain sectors, the CFO, the COO, the CEO, other senior executives are going to be tighter on spending. And so what you want to do is, again, as we put together these solution-based proposals, it was written in their language. And so it made it very easy for internal people to go and have conversations with higher, more strategic people because we were pinning ourselves as a part of their strategy, right? And we were putting together the packaging in a way that was their language and made it easy for them to go and sell it and then therefore for them to buy down the road. And so for any of you out there, and by the way, the good part is, here's what I'm telling you. I look back at this time too, and I'm like, wow, this is a blessing in disguise because we had to learn how to sell that way. And if you learn how to sell this way in a down economy, when the economy goes up, you destroy it. Because when the economy's up and everyone's buying it and the money is flowing, your pitch can be a little bit more product-y based. The money's flowing, the scrutiny behind budget's a little bit less. But when you cut your teeth in a world where the scrutiny is at an all-time high, you learn how to have business conversations. You learn how to communicate at an executive level real quick. And I was 27, 28, And by the way, just to, I didn't run these meetings solo. I would bring in senior leadership as well too. I'll give you all a quick story. In 2000, it would have been 2000, probably 2009, maybe 2008, 2009. I got a meeting with the head of talent with Intel. The COO of the company hit me up, said, Jake, I just heard the CEO of Intel speak. I can't remember his name at the time. Go get me a meeting with the head of people. I'm like, sure. So I call up, I say, hey, our COO just heard, XYZ speak. We want to set some time up to talk about talent acquisition. It's obviously important at Intel, et cetera. And we got the meeting. And, I was not equipped at 29 to run a meeting with the head of talent acquisition for globally for Intel. But I could find the right people. So for me, what I did a lot of is I would do my own research. I would do my own planning and messaging. And then once I got into a certain level of conversation, once I really got up there in the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, I'd bring in people that were more senior than me to help me with those conversations, right? So like that would be it. It's like, use your internal team to move up the ladder. And again, this is true today, just as it is, or true in an up economy just as much as it is a down economy. But I think in a down economy, again, think about it. These executives are even busier, right? And they're making really hard decisions. I will tell you, look, as a leader at Career Builder, I was there and I had to lay off, I think, what do we have to lay off? 15, 20% of my team. I was there in the original. I was one of the first 20 people in our Phoenix office. We had grown the office to, I think, 120 in a few years. And I had to lay off, our group had to lay off, I think 15 to 20 people. I had to lay off, I think two or three people just on my team. And it sucked. It sucked. Right. There's nothing worse than, we had a big auditorium and we had to have half the people. You say, hey, you guys come down, and the rest of you, I had to go have one-to-ones with, and we had to let them go. And I was dealing with that as a frontline leader, 15 years ago or so. And you've got to imagine these executives now, this is the type of thing that they're dealing with. They're having internal conversations right now. Hey, what are we going to do for workforce planning? Are we going to put things on hire, on hold, et cetera? So the ability to cut through the noise is going to get even harder, right, as a part of this. And so just understand that if you're not able to have that business-based conversation, if you're not able to have, again, that conversation that's at the executive level, hey, I know, look, I saw online, I know you've had to do layoffs. At the same time, I know that you're still, like if I was positioning, Career Builder today or LinkedIn today, or Glassdoor or something to a company that, is laying people off, it's interesting. I'd have my team members come up, Jake, these people just laid off 100 people. Like how can we pitch them? And, again, it goes back to the mindset. I'm like, well, they still need help. Yeah, they might have had to make some really difficult decisions here, but they still have other parts of their business that have to run and have to operate. And every company that's doing layoffs is also hiring. Right. And that doesn't make them irresponsible. It just makes them, they've just got to refocus. And so again, I kind of train my team to have that mindset of like, look for the areas of opportunity, look for the growth opportunities. No company says, hey, this happened, we're going to go into a shell and not worry about the outside world. You still have to run a business. And so that goes back to, again, what I said here at number 2, which is business conversations over product. That if your team doesn't have business, it doesn't have the acumen, you're going to be in a really, really hard space to fill. So if you kind of fast forward, then I left in 2010 to take over as a VP of sales at Glassdoor. The economy was kind of like just starting to rebound there. Again, what we did very early on there, kind of coming out of it, is I took a very similar playbook, which was, we don't talk about the reviews. We don't talk about that. We talk about outcomes. We talk about, hey, Cisco, I know you're looking actively for software engineers like this. I had over 300,000 views on your page, and the number one job they're interested in is software engineer. We should have a conversation. And again, I think one thing that I've just, I think I learned it early on, probably from a lot of reading, like books like Zig Ziglar that talk about, you sell the vision and that, to always think, kind of big picture. So for all of you in B2B sales that are worried right now, that are thinking about, hey, what's next for me? I want you to kind of go back and think about this. How well do I know my customer? How well do I know what they do? how they live, what their challenges are, etc. Because if you don't have that, selling in a down economy can be very, very difficult, right? So I want all of you to kind of think about that. I'm going to give you a couple more, kind of like high levels here on, again, being in B2B sales as the, economic downturn happens. For all of you, those of you who are just tuning in, this will be recorded. It will be on my profile, so you can come back and watch it afterwards. I'd love to hear kind of what people think. Is this resonating? Is this helpful? Haven't had as many questions as usual today. So, please feel free if you've got a question or if you've got a concern about, shit, Jake, what happens? How do I get a job? I'm going to talk about that next, is how to get a job in a down economy. Because I know it's probably, there could be some of you out there that are, hurting as well. So the last couple points I'll make around selling. The number one, obviously, you've seen from the first 20 minutes is like, you've got to be focused on understanding the customer's business, et cetera, so you can make things more strategic and you can cut through the noise, right? So just think about that. So the next thing I'll talk about is don't get desperate, meaning that the thing that I'll see people do and salespeople do in these types of conditions is once they start to turn their mindset to where, oh my gosh, nobody needs what we do anymore, et cetera, they start to get desperate. And you've got to trust that if you are focused on having strong business-based conversations, just type in "don't be desperate" in the thing here. Don't get desperate. So it means don't just start throwing spaghetti at the wall. Don't just start to say, oh yeah, like just pitch more and more and more product and send more and more and more. If anything, I'd suggest you to do less and less at higher quality. I think so many people, and I see sales leaders and organizations do this. It's like when the economy starts to go down, they start doing more of the old thing. And that's really an important piece. And my last kind of, hard pivot messaging, so if you don't hard pivot your messaging, you're going to struggle. Instead, what I see is, again, people get really desperate and they keep putting out more and more of the old messaging. One of my favorite stories during COVID was from Trip Actions, and the CMO, Trip Actions was a travel management platform, and then the whole world went on lockdown. And so they got their SDRs, the head of marketing, the head of sales in a room over the weekend. So this would have been like, late March, and they rewrote over 30 plus sequences for the team. So instead of saying, oh man, hey, we're a travel management platform, they realized quickly, like, nobody's trying to hear that shit right now. Nobody's trying to buy travel management platform. Well, what were they buying? Well, Trip Actions came up with a concept and a product set around trip and travel safety. So they started having preliminary conversations with people for the next month or two. Product caught up, and then all of a sudden they were selling travel safety. How safe is it for my people to travel into different regions? So think of things like that. All of you have a value prop that you can hard pivot to. And so I'd really encourage all of you in a down economy, start to think right now, how am I going to change the way that I pitch? How am I going to change? Like, okay, the economies, I sell into marketing. All right, and consumer packaged goods. Okay, so if I sold into marketing and consumer packaged goods, here's some trends I know. Inflation, I think the stat I saw, inflation is at a 40-year high, something crazy like that. So like the cost of goods is skyrocketing. Okay, well, what does that mean? Let's say if I'm a CPG, I'm a premium brand. So if I'm the head of marketing at a premium consumer packaged goods, well, what am I going through? Well, maybe people think we're too expensive. Maybe people are buying generic alternatives. Maybe my job as a marketer is shifting to being more about why we're premium, or more education based. So again, I'm always thinking about pivoting to that. Where in a good economy, I might not be thinking about that. So I might reach out to head of marketing. Hey, we're working with many other category leaders like Band-Aid, I don't know, I'm making one up, or Kleenex. And what we've seen is that, with inflation, we find many of these products, our consumers are looking for alternatives, et cetera. And that premium brands like Kleenex, are all the marketers are looking for new ways to do X, Y, Z, and that's what we help with. So again, I'm just making this up for an example. So again, just all of you, I promise you, if Trip Actions can pivot and find messaging that resonated in COVID world where nobody was traveling and they're a travel management platform. I promise all of you can hard pivot your messaging as well too. So for everyone out there, think about that. Again, when the economy goes down, what are your customers probably going through? So just kind of keep that top of mind. And then, so that's on the company side. So if you're in B2B sales, copy and paste these 7 things. I'm telling you right now, you want to kind of ask my recipe for thriving through multiple economic downturns. This is really it. It's always refocusing on the buyer. Again, it's just being more detailed, more diligent. And I'm telling you, all of you that stick it out. The other thing I see is sometimes people get nervous, etc. Like they get nervous about, they leave, etc. I'm telling you, being with a company and getting to the other side of an economic downturn, you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and the amazing. And so, if you do have a choice, I'm not saying you should stay put, but I'm saying you should maybe give it consideration that there's probably a lot of places that you could run to, and there probably are some sectors where the word run is applicable. But for many of you, I would really think about, am I running because it's getting hard? Or am I running because it's helpless? And like I said, the number one thing I had in here was mindset. And for most of you, if you go through all of this, that hard pivot, you can find it. You can find the hard pivot. You can find a way to, transition your messaging. So, Tyler just hopped in. What's up, Tyler? Fill the well before the well runs dry and learn those pivot skills. That's exactly right. Again, like, you will start to see it. The more that you can lock customers in now, for even if it's at a discount or whatnot, is really, really critical. So the last piece I'm going to do is talk about hiring, or, let's say getting a new job. So I'll talk a little bit about if I was, getting laid off, or if I just got laid off, what would I do to stand out? What would I do to get a job? Because again, like I said at the very beginning, I promise you, people are still hiring. Right? If you're in tech sales and you were just laid off, I promise you, many, many, many companies are still looking for people. Okay. So the interesting part is it's a lot of the same advice that I gave in the first half of the session. Is you have to do more to stand out. I want you to put yourself, again, it always just is, it's a different buyer. This time it's your potential employer. What's going to start to happen to hiring managers over the next 3-6 months? How many resumes you think they're going to be inundated with? Right? It used to be, right? And a lot of you, man, you were living in this world where maybe even when you got hired, a recruiter reached out to you, you were making $30,000 more a year, or 50 or 100,000 more dollars a year. And now it's like, well, I thought I was worth 150,000 a year, or 80,000, or 200, whatever the number was. And so for a lot of you, again, I'll go back to the first step is mindset, that you need to take a step back. You need to realize that you may need to take a step lateral, or some version of that to then move forward really quickly. Whenever I joined, again, I'll go back to the story in 2006, I joined at Career Builder. I had joined multiple organizations and moved up quickly. But then as I was transitioning into tech, I knew that it'd be difficult for me to start, kind of where I was. And so I took a more lateral move. And, to me, that's I'm not a big fan of a lot of lateral moves. It doesn't really help you if you make a lot of lateral. If I see your LinkedIn profile and you just lateral move, it's not too impressive. What's going on, Ubong? Hope you're doing great, man. So step one is mindset. That for a lot of you, if you just got laid off, or if you're thinking about changing jobs, understand it's going to be more difficult to get the rapid increase in salary or that dream job now. It's still possible though. And so for a lot of you, again, know your customer. Your customer in this case is a hiring manager. So if you're just putting in an application and you're just submitting it there, or saying, or even just sending a message to the hiring manager. I get some pretty lazy messages on LinkedIn. Hey, Jake, I saw you're hiring for this role. Would be great to see if I'm a fit. So now I'm supposed to go and look at your profile, and I'm supposed to go and do the homework now to go read? No, it's not going to happen, right? If I think the message clever enough, I'll introduce you to somebody. But you have to do a little of the work, research your potential new customer. And I think a lot of people struggle because it's just like sales where, you might do the research and reach out to 8, 9, 10 hiring managers and only 2 of them respond. And so you're like, why did I do all that work? It's like, well, don't you do that exact same work in sales every day? And I'm telling you, to stand out is not that difficult. So, my advice for any of you that are looking for a job is I would pick, and again, I wouldn't just do it based on money raised. I would do it based on industries that get me passionate and get me excited. So for any of you that are looking for a role, that's the very first thing I would do. What are the top selling into what type of buyers? Sales leaders, marketing leaders, whatever it might be. Really think through the types of industries that get you excited. And then you have to take my exact same advice from before, is you have to get to know your customer, which in this case is the hiring manager. You've got to, again, do the business case. Hey, I know right now that you all may be starting a hiring freeze, or I saw on LinkedIn this and this. With that said, I know many organizations like yours are still looking for A-level talent. I am A-level talent, and here's like the top 3 ways that I'm going to be able to help and support. Let me know if you'd at least be up for a 20-minute introduction call. That's it. I'm telling you, the percent of people that do any amount of research before they blindly reach out is like 2%. It's like nobody. I mean, I can't remember one I got recently that was like, that they had done any research. Hey, Jake, I'm into what you guys are doing. Great. That's what everybody says. Be specific. What are you into? Hey, Jake, this resonated with me. Here's how I think it matches to this role. Here's why I think I'm a fit for that role. So instead of just taking 5 minutes to send a message, you might take 15 or 20, right? And to be more thoughtful, to stand out. But I'm telling you right now, it is going to be very difficult if you're a B2B seller right now and you just got laid off to get a job by just applying online. It's probably not going to happen for you. So for all, if you're out there and you're looking for a job, you're looking for a role, I highly recommend. I saw a woman who got laid off, and through Thursday night sales and LinkedIn, she got 47 opportunities in like the matter of a week. Cool, great, awesome. So again, like, it also goes back to like, now you understand why these people were posting on LinkedIn and your coworkers are posting on LinkedIn. Now they've built up networks of people that trust them. And so, that's the other thing you can do going forward, is start to get very active and sharing value on LinkedIn. Because then if you ever do run into a bump, I'm telling you, there are tons and tons of people out there that are ready to scoop you back up. And so again, if you did get laid off, look, I know it's tough. I've been fired before as well too. Man, especially if it's your first time getting fired, you're just like, shit, like this is the worst. I can tell you though, like, you will get through it. It will all work out. And that in times when these things happen, you just got to lean in a little bit more. And it's the same thing that I talked about in selling in these environments, why my team was the top team 2 years in a row in a very, I would argue, selling jobs in that time was probably one of the most difficult things to do. That we were so successful is that we always focused on the customer and the buyer and their strategic needs, never believing that they weren't hiring, because it just wasn't true. It was a false narrative. It's the same thing for all of you. There are, like, if you are trying to get a job and you believe companies that hiring, you're just wrong. Companies are hiring, and they're hiring a lot of people all across a lot of industries. Even the companies that are laying people off are still going to hire. Maybe not for the next month or two, but they're still going to hire. So again, if you take these kind of 7 principles here and you apply this to selling, if you did get laid off or you want to leave, you apply this to getting a job. Again, hard pivot messaging. Before it could have been, I was President's Club. Now it's like, look, you're downsizing, but I know you still need to grow the business. As you downside, I'm going to be the person that's going to help you to continue to grow as you downsize. It's a good value prop, right? A lot of people are hiring for that person. So I hope this helps a lot of you out there. This happens, right? I've now seen it through, late 2000s and COVID. And now, if we do end up going to more of a dip now, there is another side. Okay. And if you want to thrive, not just survive, but thrive, you just do these 7 things. Okay. I'm telling you this from my own personal experience. This isn't, just advice. This is just what I did. I'm not an economist. I don't know what's going to happen with the economy. The good part is I can tell you, if you get really good at these things, they will make you an even better seller if the economy never goes south. So I hope this helps some people out there. good catching up. We're going to be doing LinkedIn Lives, pretty consistent going forward. So you're going to start to see one from me at least once every 2 weeks, if not once a week. So I hope this helps. We also have got a couple of webinars coming up. I'll tell you all about real quick. Let me just have Becca maybe just hop in here and drop some links. So on Thursday, can you drop the webinar links in the comments? And then if you're in San Francisco, I'll type this in really quick here. If you are in San Francisco or New York, if you are, how many of you are in San Francisco or New York, in SF or NYC? I will be in SF on the 16th and morning of the 17th. We're hosting an event that night, and then NYC, I'll be there the 22nd and 23rd. So if you're in either of these markets, we're going to be doing a ton of stuff all over the US over this year. So, please come out. You can DM me. I'll get you the event details for that. Let me see if I can find it for you real quick so you can just sign up. Becca SF. Let's see. Here you go. All right. If you sign up for this is the San Francisco one. You'll also get the details for the New York one. So let me see if I've got the New York one for you real quick in case it is linked here. Also, just so you know, in San Francisco, I'm going to be joined by Mr. Lars Nielsen. If you don't know Lars is the head of global biz dev at Snowflake. So make sure to come. If you're in San Francisco, this is going to be like an absolute must. So San Francisco, night of the 16th, Lars and I are going to talk about the future of sales and technology. In New York, so SF is, me and at Lars. And then New York's going to be fucking epic too. It's going to be me and, if you guys know Ryan Mang, Ryan's an amazing sales leader, and Melanie, who's the CEO of Speckit. Melanie will be joining to talk about modern sales and tech. So make sure to sign up for these 100%. They should be some really, really, really great events. If you sign up for the SF one, the team will we can email you the details for the New York one. I just don't have it right in front of me. Let me see if I can find it real quick, actually. Oh, here we go. Register for your city. All right. So actually use this link here. So make sure to join us for that. Like I said, there's the Wednesday. Becca just dropped in, everyone, the Wednesday registration too. So if you want to come check out the webinar we're doing Wednesday, it's with the team at Slintel, if you all know those folks at all. It should be a pretty awesome conversation around sales intelligence, which I think we need more and more of now. So this should be a really awesome, next kind of couple of weeks. So I'm going to continue to bring value. Appreciate all of you tuning in. If you have any other questions, Jake, hey, here's what I'm going through. I do my best to respond to LinkedIn messages as timely as I can. Sometimes it's not as timely as I'd like. If you're in San Francisco or in New York, definitely hit that register for your city. Come by and see me with Lars, me with Ryan, and me with Melanie. So excited to meet a lot of you in person. If I don't see you in person, I'll see you virtually again in a couple of weeks. Have a great Monday. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we will see you later.